Okay, this section is on brief history of personality. Maybe some of you have heard this, gone over it before, and that's fine because it'll just be a review. Starting with Hippocrates, and really we've gone back before this. There's illusion being made or personalities being alluded to in the time of mythology. Personality itself comes from a word persona, which kind of means mask that individuals use in plays. And right now we're looking at a very brief history. We have three components, but I think they're interesting because the first section here with Hippocrates and the four fluids. And if you can look at this, as we go across here, number one is optimistic and cheerful. Number two is a doer or a leader. Number three is an individual that is calm, unemotional, at least that might be emotional, but they don't exhibit the emotions. Number four is kind and considerate. So going across this way are the four types of personality. Now, when we get to Carl Jung, we're going to see that we're still dealing with four types. But for right now, all of the ones that pertain to optimistic and cheerful are all number one: sanguine, blood, spring, air. The doer or the leader is the choleric, yellow bile, summer, and fire. Calm and unemotional, phlegmatic, phlegm, winter, and water. Those who are kind and considerate, melancholic, black bile, autumn, and earth. Now, you'll notice going across here are the four fluids that are often referred to: blood, yellow bile, phlegm, and black bile. So these are the four fluids that are referred to. And still in this day, contemporary setting, in this day and age, we will have references made to one of these groups. Now, this is first section of the brief history of personality. Here, to me, this is Plato's cave allegory. Now, I have the Plato's cave down here. It's slipped down a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and put Plato's cave right here. And if you can imagine this was an allegory that Plato came up with, what he said, and you have to use your imagination a little bit. And there'll probably be, from time to time, a little research on this because I think it's terrific because it pertains to modern day life, everyday living. But you'll see here, this is a cave. These individuals have been chained in such a way that all they can see are shadows on the wall. First of all, they see this wall, and then you'll see this flame back here that's flickering, and the world supposedly passes across this bridge here. So from this flame flickering, burning, shining on these individuals results in a shadow on this wall. Now, some individuals, according to Plato, which incidentally wasn't really his name, but the reason that he was called Plato is because he had big shoulders and was a wrestler. He loved to wrestle. Having said that, what we have here then is these individuals seated in a cave watching the shadows pass before them. This is all they knew about the world. This was their entire world. Well, one day their slave was set free or escaped. Some say he was set free, some say he escaped. And he looked around. And he couldn't believe what he was seeing because he saw depth. He saw movement. And he went outside. And he looked around and he saw color and again movement and different shades of color and saw light and darkness. Now, like I said, taking the concept of Plato's cave allegory and applying it, and just imagine what is happening. There are some individuals, and individuals have been known to go through life. They don't want anything different. They don't want to leave their cave. Now, we've heard of a man cave, possibly a woman cave also. But these individuals do not want to leave their cave. They are absolutely satisfied where they're at. They don't want any change. And what they are doing is good enough for them if it is working for them. Now, there's a lot of implications in this. I can't get over it. You can just come up with implications, and we will be doing this in an assignment. Some individuals that will repeat a behavior over and over again because it is working for them, and the reason that it may be working for them, and stretching this a little bit further, is because they are being enabled. And by being enabled, I am saying this, that very possibly someone is allowing them to get away with a certain behavior. There's some individuals that just do not want to expand their world. That's very possibly why you are in this course. To expand your world, for better or worse, that's why you are here. This is why this is so important, but we have to understand that there are some individuals saying, hey, it was good enough for my grandfather, it was good enough for my father, it's good enough for me, I'm not going to change. I'm not going to leave the cave, and this is particularly interesting in the area of education, is getting individuals to come out of their cave. And you'll say, well, I'm not going to be a professional educator. This education goes along. If you're going to be a parent, if you're going to work with other individuals, if you come in contact with other individuals, there's always the opportunity to educate. There's always the opportunity to be a role model. Now, there'll probably be further study of this cave, but I think it just applies. It applies to life. I know in my own personal life, there was times that I would say, hey, this is good enough for me. I don't have to change. I don't want to change. But then when I did start to change and look around at the colors, look around at the depth perception, look around at the movement, the change was worthwhile. So even though we hesitate about making a change, and there's nothing wrong with the hesitation, still we can be thankful when we do. And basically, if we want to take that a little bit further, each and every one of us will have a comfort zone. And we do have comfort zones, areas that we feel comfortable in. We feel comfortable in certain clothes that we wear. We feel comfortable in certain routes that we take from one destination to another. We feel comfortable with going into a grocery store and start shopping on one end of the grocery store or the other. We have patterns. We feel comfortable. This is our comfort zone. Well, these individuals here in this cave, excuse me, also have a comfort zone, and they feel comfortable with just sitting there and watching the shadows go by. We will be talking about this a little bit more. So the first section of this brief history then was Hippocrates and his four fluids. Then we have this here, Plato's cave allegory. And then we have a story about the man with a hole in his head, Phineas Gage. And this was a great start to neurobiology and what Phineas was doing. And you'll have an opportunity to read a little bit more about this. But Phineas was working on the railroad. And, of course, they would have to blow rock out of the way so they could go ahead and build the railroad. And in so doing, a hole would be drilled. and this hole would be filled up with dynamite. And you can see there, this is a picture of Phineas Gage. In his left hand, he's holding this rod. Well, this rod, I think, was about 40 inches long and around an inch in diameter, maybe a little bit more. And he was stomping this dynamite in a hole. And I would imagine that a spark was sent from rubbing the rod on the rock, and the spark ignited the dynamite, and it blew and went through Phineas's left cheek, come out of his head. I have a picture of his skull here. This is how it was, only it didn't stop there. It was a projectile. It blew clear through it, and I don't know, something like 80 feet, and I could be corrected on that, but it blew it for quite a distance. Well, Phineas's behavior changed. He went from being a kind, considerate individual to somewhat of a boisterous type individual. Okay, these are three events that have happened in history. I really feel as though that we want to keep them in mind because we will be discussing them a little bit sooner. Hope all is going well. Like I've said before, you're on the Big Ten, you've read due date, and the class is on its way. So, and it will be soon because in just a little while, we will be focusing in on the theory. So until the next video, which is on the three forces, you have a good day. And if you have an opportunity, look up some of these concepts that we have visited about in this video.